Hello, hello, hello. This is Overlord Bell back with another information video, and today we're going to be going over the top 5 things new players get wrong in World of Warships. So let's start off with the bat with number 1. So that one is believing the in-game stat rating. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about these numbers on the right side. So as an example, we'll go off the Kremlin. So Kremlin is by far one of the tankiest battleships in the game, right? So you have a survivability of 100, artillery 92, airstrike 3290, so on and so forth, right? So the main thing is survivability is 100. So we know Kremlin is really tanky, right? Well, the Republic, which is known as one of the squishiest battleships in the game, also has 100 for survivability. So the main thing to note is don't always believe the stat numbers that you see on the right side. Sometimes they're good and sometimes they're not so accurate, let's just say. But I'll let SAT Score explain that a little bit more.
So these in-game stat ratings are calculated based on a formula, but the formula is not always right. You can especially see in survivability. So like you can also compare the Repub to the Ushakov. If you play the Ushakov in game, which is which is the super ship version of the Kremlin, you will know that Ushakov is the tankiest ship in the entire game, almost impossible to kill. And yet, according to the in-game stats, it is just as survivable as Repub. You will see this inconsistency happen a lot. The most famous example I can think of is actually the Clemson. So if you go over to the Clemson, you'll see that she has her default rating, I believe, is 11 for artillery, and that's because she carries 4 5-inch guns. Let me double check.
Clemson is 43, the DD, right?
Yeah, the tier 4 destroyer.
Yeah, it says 43.
Okay, now switch to the upgraded gun, and it will increase the rating by just a little bit.
Well, I'm on the second set of gun. So you mean
Okay. If you switch between the base gun and the upgraded gun, there's not much of a rating.
Mm-hmm.
And in reality is the upgraded gun, literally you're doubling the amount of guns you get.
Oh, yeah, that is true. I see that. You literally get double. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah. So that is actually the most famous example of where the artillery rating is super misleading. Because you're almost doubling your firepower on the Clemson with that gun upgrade, but if you go solely by the in-game rating, you would not notice you could not see the difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And I
that
find
is pretty
this
crazy.
yeah, and I find this happening a lot with newer players, and that's mostly because they don't understand how to read the ship stats yet, and I don't blame them. It's a lot of information to intake at once, so naturally you'll try to gravitate to something that's easy to digest. And it just so happens the ratings that you see on the right side are very easy to understand. Higher number equals good. But unfortunately, it is very misleading in this case.
Yep, that is unfortunate for sure. But yep, so let's move on to number 2, which is ranked is a competitive mode. So over the years, we've seen a lot of new players be deceived that ranked is a competitive mode. It is not. The way that the ranked works is that if you win, you get a star. If you lose a star. The thing is that if you are top of the team of the losing side, you can keep your star. And there is no real matchmaking in ranked. The whole goal is to get more wins and losses, and that's how you're able to rank out. It's not really a competitive mode in that regard, in the sense, because compare it to other ranked modes, like in Overwatch or Marvel Rivals, just to name a
Or League
few,
of
or League
Legends.
of Legends. The ranked is based off of your in-game performance and a bunch of other factors rather than just winning or losing, not just getting stars and moving on.
So these ranked games, almost every ranked game I know of will use some variant of the ELO rating, and that rating determines how good of a player you are. World of Warships ranked does not do that. All it does, it takes into account what the matchmaking only takes into account what tier bracket you're in. So if you're in silver, if you're in bronze league, you're fighting other bronze players. If you're in silver, you fight other silvers. That's it. But if but let's say you're a super unicum player with that can average 60% win rate in randoms, you get to match with the player. You're going to get matched with players that are 40% a win rate in randoms, and that which you will never see in you'll never see that in other competitive games like League of Legends, because they use the elo system, so you automatically get filtered very quickly. So
Mm-hmm.
you play against players of similar skill level.
Yep, that is definitely something for sure. So moving on from number 2 is number 3, which is higher tier ships make you a better player. So, example of this is, say you're playing in like a tier 5 ship, right? You're playing in a tier 5 ship in randoms and you get killed by a tier 7 ship player. Well, and then you're like, oh, well, now I want to get a tier 7 ship because I got killed in my tier 5, and you go up to tier 7, and then you get killed by a tier 9 ship, and then it's so on and so forth until you get yourself to tier 10 and super. Having a higher tier ship does not make you better. Having a higher tier ship does give you an advantage, but it does not make you a better player. There is a lot, and I mean a lot of players that play super that get absolutely destroyed by tier 9 players because people are like, "Oh, I want the best ship, the best advantage and everything," but they still haven't learned the game concepts to be able to fully utilize that ship. So, in short, having a higher tier ship does not make it better. It just gives you an advantage in battle.
Yep. And even then, that advantage can quickly be taken away because, oh, you finally got that tier 7 ship that's been causing you so much grief when you were playing tier 5. Well, say hello to that tier 9 ship that's about to ruin your entire game.
Mhm. Yeah, it's not a fun experience. Also, if you are in a lower tier ship fighting a higher tier ship and you do damage to that higher tier ship, you do earn more base XP damage wise than compared that ship does to you. So technically, you are able to earn more base XP and credits by damaging a higher tier ship, while a higher tier ship damaging a lower tier ship will earn less credits and less base XP, which is a pretty cool concept.
hmm Like, granted, you're probably not going to have that much fun fighting a higher tier ship, but the rewards are reflected at the end of the game because you get more EXP. You get rewarded by doing well against players who have better ships than you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Moving on to number 4, I always bring this one up, is how the campaigns work in World of Warships. So in World of Warships, there is 5 campaigns currently. When you go into them, you are able to select a mission. And in these missions, you have to earn enough stars to be able to get the final mission to be able to move on to the next stages. Something that a lot of new players do not know is the fact that you can repeat these missions not for the base reward, but for the stars. So you're able to play, let's say I click on this one here, task 1, where you have to cause 200,000 damage to Japanese ships. You can repeat this mission over and over again to earn stars to be able to get the final task. So you don't have to complete all these missions. You can literally just do one mission over and over and over again to get all the stars and be able to move on to the next phases. And this is something that I mean, over my time of making videos and playing WoWs, thousands of people did not know this information. So I'm guessing a lot of you are not going to know this as well. So if you didn't, let me know down in the comments. But this is definitely probably one of the top uh, things that new players get wrong in the game is how these campaigns work. Also, the rewards in them are really nice. So normally I encourage people to do as many missions as possible anyway, but it just makes it a little bit easier for you guys to really get the final rewards and move on to the end of the campaign. All right. So the final top 5 is players with thousands of games are better than you. So in short, people with the most games have the most experience. And yeah, that's definitely not true for sure. Yeah, we've seen our
Like,
fair share of let's just say people with like 50, 60,000 matches that aren't the best and they're really bad, or they're the rear
they
seat
score on bottom of the
admiral.
team.
They're like the rear seat admiral of the match where they're telling everybody what to do.
after
While,
they died 3 minutes into the match.
yeah. So, number of battles played do not matter in any game, including this game as well. Normally, once a player gets past 1,000, 2,000 battles ish, they're not really considered as new of a player. Normally, around what's that sweet spot? Normally, 2,000 battles. Normally, they're not considered like a new player really.
Say there's no real hard number. I think most people would put it after 1,000 games,
Hmm.
but you can put anything between like 500 and 3,000, and you can make good arguments for any number in between.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure.
So that being said, experience does help you learn the game, but there's a lot of players in World of Warships that have thousands of games, tens of thousands of games that you can beat over even if you just started the game. So yeah, just because you see a guy on the enemy team, he looks like he has a higher tier ship, he looks like he has thousands of games. You're like, oh crap, he played so much, he probably knows how the game works insides and out. And then he just YOLOs in and dies.
Hmm.
Like, I see that quite often. So if you're a new player, yeah, it definitely looks intimidating, but it's not. There's a lot of players that are also in the same boat, or maybe just not as good as you are. Like, trust me, you will beat a lot. Like, even if you're a new player, there's a lot of players you can beat right now, as even especially if you go into ranked. Like when I go to sometimes when I go play in the bronze leagues, like there are players that are like their win rates in the 40s or so. Like as a new player, you have a good chance of beating them over. And the best thing is you're still learning, so you can get better as well.
Hmm. Yep, for sure. But yep, that is going to be the top 5 things beginners get wrong in World of Warships. If you guys have any questions, oh wait, no, if you guys have any of your own top 5s, mistakes that new players or beginners make, I would also like to hear those as well. So make sure to put those down in the comments, and I will see you guys in the next video.